Hello, welcome to me trying something new. I've been making short form content for a little while now, mostly movie reviews as it happens, as I'm exiting the theatre, just giving my broad thoughts on them. But I wanted to branch out and to start talking about some other things around the movie business that really interest me, because I think there are some really important developments happening at the moment and that we're about to see play out, and I wanted to take the time to talk about them. So, what I'm touching on here is the month that's coming up in July, because it's a massive, massive month for the health of the movie industry. And that sounds like a grandiose statement. That sounds like a like a crazy thing to say. But when you actually look at it, there are some very, very important things happening this month that will determine the direction that cinema goes in. So what I'm talking about is the release of 3 tentpole movies from 3 tentpole studios. This is Jurassic World Rebirth from Universal. This is Superman from the new DCU studios led by James Gunn for Warner Brothers. And this is Fantastic Four from Marvel Studios and obviously from Disney. Each of these 3 release within a couple of weeks of each other, and each of these 3 have their own trials and tribulations they have to go through. So I want to go through the 3 of them, talk about them, explain their importance, and sort of just set you up for understanding why they are such a big deal in the next couple of weeks. So I'll start with Jurassic World. So obviously this is one of the biggest franchises of all time. Jurassic Park is one of the original blockbuster movies, and when they rebooted the Jurassic World series, those 3 movies, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and Jurassic World Dominion, each made over $1 billion in the combined box office internationally. Now that is a big deal, because since COVID, there have only been 9 movies that have reached $1 billion at the global box office. Whereas in 2019 itself, the year before COVID, there were $9 billion movies alone. So there's been this clear trend of moving away from movie theaters, from the general audience. And this has caused a lot of concern in the film industry, because if you extrapolate this trend, it appears as though those tentpole movies that hold up cinemas and business owners in the industry are dying. So this movie has a very high bar to reach. It almost has to hit $1 billion because of the success of its predecessors. Now, the reviews on these 3 previous entries are mixed regardless. So it doesn't even have to be a good movie necessarily for it to do well. The Jurassic brand and the dinosaur brand is immense, and it should not be understated. Also working in its favor, this is meant to be a bit of a reset. Now, they've kept the world nomenclature, but it's a new cast. Scarlett Johansson, Jonathan Bailey, Mahershala Ali formed this new cast along with Gareth Edwards, who's come in to direct. So in theory, they're taking it in a new, exciting direction. However, from what we've seen from the trailers, it does seem to be leaning into traditional Jurassic sequel territory. New island, new dinosaurs, same stakes. However, it does look like a beautifully shot film. I personally am very excited for it. I have a lot of love for the Jurassic movies, and I'm excited to see how it goes. But that is the milestone it has to hit. It really does have to perform like that internationally, or else I think it will be seen as a failure. And that is an insane bar to hit. So it'll be interesting to see if that cast has the same firepower as before with Chris Pratt. Whether you love him or hate him, he is a movie star. He brings in viewers. So we will see. So that's Jurassic World. Next is Superman. Now, Superman is a massive, massive deal. It is the launching point of James Gunn's new DC universe. He is the director who previously did Guardians of the Galaxy for Marvel, and now he's come over to this new rival studio, and he's attempting to reimagine their DC property. I'm sure a lot of you will remember the DC movies that were produced in the last 10 years or so You know, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Justice League. And I'm sure a lot of you will have your own thoughts on how good or bad they were. But regardless, they didn't do very well. So DC has brought in, or well, Warner Brothers has brought in a new studio head in James Gunn to try and revive this brand. And his flagship movie that he has directed, written, produced, and has heavily marketed himself is Superman. Superman is what launched the studio last time with Man of Steel. It has been made into a movie quite a few times, but it's never really been that successful, to be honest. It's a difficult character to get right for a number of reasons. This is because he's sort of this invincible character, right, who can do all of these things. So he's very difficult to write for, because how do you write about a character that is so strong and unbeatable? Where are the stakes in that story? So I'll be very interested to see what James Gunn can do. The trailers have looked good, but really it all comes down to Mr. Gunn, because he has put his career on the line for this movie. He's been in all of the marketing. He has been across the entire movie making process. He's been in all of the interviews. So the success of this movie will really make or break his career. If it succeeds, he will ascend to godhood. You know, this is his baby. Similar to Patty Jenkins with Wonder Woman. You know, the first one was a big success and really skyrocketed her career. But the second one, which she also invested herself in completely, was a flop. And so she's since disappeared. The same thing will happen here. If it is a massive success, James Gunn will be able to reap those benefits. But if not, he's in a lot of trouble, I think. And when I say massive success, financially, I think this is in the realm of 700 to 800 million. That would match what The Batman did by Matt Reeves a couple of years ago. And I think that would be a reasonable target for it to hit. If it exceeds that, that's really good. But if it comes under, if it comes at 500 to 600, that's a real problem for the DCU and for James Gunn. So we'll see. Finally, we have the Fantastic Four from Marvel Studios. There's a lot riding on this one because Marvel has been in a massive slump. I mean, their last 3 or 4 movies have severely underperformed their box office average, you know, in the 200, 300, 400 million dollar range, which is not why they get into the business of making these movies. These movies are made to reach that $1 billion mark or get thereabouts. And quality has definitely been a real problem for these movies in the recent years. There seems to be a disconnect between what the fans want and what the studio is producing, I think. And you can see that in the results, in the tickets sold. I think audiences are suffering from superhero fatigue, but I think that is also definitely quality fatigue. I feel like maybe there has been a lack of good quality superhero movie. However, having said that, Thunderbolts came out earlier this year, and I feel that that was a strong movie, and it also underperformed. So I know the suits at Disney and Marvel are sweating right now because they've put a lot into this movie. You know, it's got an all-star cast with Pedro Pascal, who maybe is overexposed, but is still a movie star. And it's about one of the most famous properties that Marvel own, the Fantastic Four. So I know that they are hoping this can draw in the crowds of old and prove that Marvel is still a success outside of their Avengers titles. However, I think this movie is really going to struggle. I think whilst it looks really good, audiences have wisened up to these movies, and there is a post-credit scene in the Thunderbolts which basically spoils the end of Fantastic Four. So in this month of blockbuster movie releases, are general audiences going to be able to spend their money on another movie which they already know the ending to, and which is kind of not necessary for them to see to understand the next movie, which will be the new Avengers, Doomsday? So it's a bit concerning to think that maybe they've set themselves up here for a bit of a catastrophe. And again, I think this needs to get into the 600, 700, 800 million dollar range for it to be deemed a success. I think that is the bare minimum. Anything under that, if it's 500 or below, Marvel are going to have a serious rethink about their business strategy, because that's not turning a profit. When you factor in marketing, production budget, etc., that's just not enough. And the problem with Marvel Studios underperforming is that it has repercussions for the whole film industry. For the last couple of years, the last decade, Marvel movies have held up movie theaters with their box office, with getting people in seats. It has allowed other movies to flourish that maybe do not pull in the same amount of ticket sales. So the industry at large will be watching this summer, because these three movies are deeply intertwined with the success of Hollywood and with the success of the filmmaking industry in general. If they succeed, Hollywood lives to fight another day, and they will be able to learn from this success and hopefully continue to produce movies that are on this level. If they fail, I think we will see a significant reshuffle in all three of those big studios in the kind of movies they produce. I think there will be a big tilt towards safe property, i.e. live action remakes and known entities that are catered towards kids, because the only movies that are making $1 billion these days are kids' movies. So I think that will be where the shift will be if these movies underperform significantly. So there we are. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative. I'm going to be experimenting a bit with the style of these, because this is obviously the first time I'm trying this. If you enjoyed, please let me know. If you have any questions or comments about this video, please let me know. I'd love to hear them. And thank you for watching. I will be making more content on the film industry as I see content to make. But let me know if you have anything else you'd like me to talk about. I am thinking about maybe posting longer form film reviews for films that really catch my attention. So maybe I'll start doing that as well. Anyway, thank you. Let's see how these movies play out. Personally, I'm hoping for the best. Obviously, I don't want to see the film industry die. So let's see how it goes. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.